So getting close to real, as real as possible in the classroom then, I think becomes an important aspect of task-based teaching. We're going to look at a couple of clips. Let's start with your clip, Paula. There's a really delightful little clip we're about to view. Is there anything you want to say before that? Maybe introduce us to your class and tell us a little bit about.
Okay, I have a level 1 class,
okay.
And with continuous intake, there are always new students coming into the class, and this is an activity called greeting chain, and it's chain because it moves from one student to the next around the room, and what we're going to see is of us doing this morning ritual, which we don't do every day, we do several mornings a week. And I just wanted to point out that this is fairly well into the school year, so it's been practiced considerably. But this is something we do to build confidence and get to know one another.
Great. So I'm just going to play it here on the laptop.
Let's do our good morning. Chain good morning. All right, and you know how that works. We begin by saying good morning to one another, and we will begin with Aman today, and we'll move this way from Sodni to Howie and down to Parminder. Okay? Okay, Aman, take it away.
Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning, Aman.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good morning, Gapri.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. And you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Good morning, Komal.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good morning, Sunny.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, and are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Good morning, baby.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good.
Thank you. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Good, and thank you.
Good morning, Parminder. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
And you? Fine, thank you. Good morning, teacher.
Good morning, Parminder.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And you?
I'm okay.
Good. Okay. Much better. Now I know that you are having a good morning. All right? Sounds good. Are you ready to learn now? You're ready to learn. Okay. Thank you. That was great.
Okay, great. They're having a lot of fun, your students.
Well, it was wonderful to see such smiles on their faces. Everyone had this, I'm fine, thank you. I think it's really great to have routines, especially for this level of learner, because I think it really helps to build their confidence, which is what you had said earlier.
Yes, it's important to me, I'm sure it's important to all teachers, to build that sense of community in the classroom, because if you have a sense of community, you have the, I don't know if you want to call it buy-in, you have the interest of the students and the comfort of the students, and if you have that, then they'll give, right, and they'll take chances.
Would you sort of change up any of the language? Like, would you teach them, like, what's up? If they hear sort of different ways of greeting, hey, what's up, or how you doing today? Or,
Absolutely, yes, we do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll write them on the board, 10 different ways you can respond to this.
Right.
And they practice those, and then eventually they offer their own different greeting. And yeah, another thing I like to focus on is the eye contact and the addressing each other by name, because this is, again, an important activity to mimic really what happens out there when you greet your boss or your neighbor, or,
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting because there was a lot of interaction between students, so they were focused on listening and speaking and responding, and you had started the chain on, off, and then you sort of took a step backwards and let them take over, which I thought was a wonderful way to build their confidence as well, because they're going to be reacting to other people rather than their teacher. So I thought it was great.
Good.
But the first time you did this, or the first few times you did this with this class, did it go that well?
Absolutely not. It it never does, right? No, it took a lot of build-up to set it up, and I had a much stronger role at first, and I would address them one by one, and then ask one to address another across the room and whatnot. And Yes, we went over many times, you know, that you needed to put some emphasis into your speaking and get the eye contact. And oh yes, as I said, this is well into the school year.
And you said you had continuous intake, so if you have a student who's new and comes into that situation, first class for that student, is there a level of intimidation there?
I don't think so. You know, if I sense that they're a very, very low speaker, listener, I'll just say, just listen to us.
Okay.
Just you'll know what we do. Just watch and listen. If they're quite out there, then I'll just include them, and it's a little bit of a test to see how they react to that. But it's a friendly group.
I was thinking that often students are going through a silent period when they first enter a new situation,
Right.
so they may not feel comfortable at first participating, but they will after a while when they see just how wonderful the community was.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a
they were
friendly
so
crowd.
very supportive.
Yeah, wonderful. What a great group
Yeah.
of students.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
they are.
we're going to move on to a second clip now, and we're now going to go over to Ashley's classroom, and it's a bit of a different level. So why don't you tell us about your students, and then why don't you tell us about the clip we're about to see and sort of put it into context for us.
Well, this is a completely different classroom. This is an English for Engineering professionals class. So all the students in this class are internationally educated engineers with professional engineering experience. And their goal is to continue their profession in Canada. And one of the things they need to do that is obviously the language component. Some of them are actually now working in Canada, some of them in engineering related jobs, some of them are looking for jobs. They're CLV level between 6 and 8. This group's probably mostly 7s and 8s. Now what you're going to see in this clip is a role play of a meeting. Now the meeting is an engineering related meeting, but for the 3 classes prior, we've been working on all kinds of meeting skills, including language for meetings, roles in meetings, how to deal with problems in meetings, like typical problems. So you'll see that they have cards in front of them, and one is chairperson. Now, 2 of the other participants, well, one is the quiet expert, and then there's an interrupter, and then there's a role called the talker. Okay, and so those are the 2 kind of problematic roles. And not that I was trying to tell the students, oh, this is a good way to act in a meeting, you should be constantly interrupting and never stop talking, but it was more to give the chairperson a chance to try and use the proper language and proper way to deal with those problems. Another thing you might notice is at one point you'll see there's a person kind of taking notes just at the corner of the screen. That's me. I wasn't participating in the meetings, I wasn't saying anything. I was walking around taking notes, so you might notice that, and we'll talk more about that after, I guess. So I think that's everything I needed to tell you.
Great. Well, let's watch the clip. Okay.
What we're going to do right now is a meeting role play exercise, and as you know, we've been working on meetings for the last almost 3 classes. We've been practicing the phrases you would use in a meeting to achieve different goals, such as starting the meeting off, inviting someone to speak, interrupting, clarifying, asking for clarification. We've been practicing those phrases. We've been discussing the culture of meetings in Canada, the roles of people in meetings. And right now, what I'd like to do is a role play. There's 4 roles that you'll take on. The goal of this is to make it feel really real, like you're in an actual meeting. And these meeting role plays were designed by an engineer, a Canadian engineer who worked for Manitoba Hydro. He designed the meetings based on some of his own experiences in meetings. So they should, the meetings themselves should feel really real, and it's a chance for you to really practice using the phrases we worked on, using the roles.
And I am very pleased that the project is on schedule.
I believe that it's not on the schedule. I think that we have been working lots of hours and I feel just so tired.
When you say that we are on schedule, can you specify what specific situation in our project schedule that we are behind?
Well, I think that the people in production are not doing their part. I am doing my part.
Please relax and let me make my point here.
Okay, just to make your
Because
point,
we have spent so much time.
I'll give you you have to give me an update within the meeting. Just go
What
directly to your
update are you
point.
referring to?
The project that you're not listening, okay? Okay, let me.
You mean I'm not listening?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to be rude, but you're not listening. From the
Now I
very
get a point.
beginning, I've said that we need to come up
Excuse
with an
me,
update.
but I don't quite understand what you are trying to
That's
arrive
why
at.
let me finish first. Okay?
Okay, I'll give you
We
that point.
need an update regarding our project, one of our projects with Manitoba Hydro regarding a power plant outside Winnipeg.
So, everybody, you have finished all your rounds in your meeting role play, and I'd like to ask you, how did that feel to you? Did it feel like a real meeting?
Yes.
Mari.
Yeah, it felt like a real meeting, but the thing that I felt strange or I don't know, when I had to be the talker, I had to be individualistic.
Okay.
So it's different in my country, so I have to use lots of I's.
Okay.
And in my country, I used to use lots of we.
Okay.
So sometimes I said we, we. So yeah.
I feel very difficult. No. I am, how do you say this? It's really tough.
Okay.
It's because of the
Interrupter.
interrupter. I almost lost my temper.
Okay. Okay. So that felt kind of real to you. Okay. Okay.
It's like almost real. Shut up! Shut up!
Okay. Okay.
Wow. Okay. So I don't think saying "shut up" was probably the right way to go there.
No.
That was,
Well, he managed to not say that during the meeting. I think he was quite
that's
proud of
good. Yeah.
himself.
The debrief. He's telling you this is how you
In
felt.
the debrief, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and that can happen in real life. That's for sure. Wow. What a great activity. And it seems like it's got so much going on. Like not only are they using the language you've been practicing, but they have to sort of tie in that the cultural differences and then the different roles that they're each playing. Wow, I mean, they did an incredible job, this group.
Well, this is, again, we've been building up to this over multiple classes. For example, the cultural aspects, we started talking about those in the beginning of the class and had discussed them in numerous different activities. But this was one of the first chances they had to actually act as though they were from a different culture than their own.
Well, they really took their roles to heart.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
it was so great to see, and I think the debriefing is so important because it ties back into what you said. You were helping them build up to that particular task with the language and the cultural aspects, and they really looked at how they would feel in that kind of situation. In the meeting, I mean, how much more real can you get? You know, I think that was important. The notes, what kind of notes were you?
Yes. I was taking notes at the end of the meeting role plays when we were done all the rounds and the debrief. I had a list of some common words that I'd heard with pronunciation issues, so I wrote those up on the board, and then a few sentence structure problems that I'd heard, very specific things, but that would be common among the group. So I'd written those all up, and we actually went over those, and I think we'll get to see those later as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, these two opening clips are so, they're so full. I mean, there's so much behind the scenes work that went into these clips to get the students to a point where they could be comfortable using this language. So in later conversations today, I'd like to talk about the thing. I'd like to talk about the error correction in our fourth conversation. In our third conversation, I want to look at what it takes to get students to the place where they're comfortable in those settings to use the language.